fact that he sits on the glove like this kind of makes it special to me, because like I said, I'm not forcing him to sit on my glove. There's no way I can make him sit on my glove. The fact that he lets me, you know, hold him like this is an honor, just because, you know, he's an eagle, of course, but because, you know, there is that relationship between me and him. Well, I've always loved animals. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved learning about animals, and I've loved being outside and going to zoos. The zoo was probably my favorite place to visit. Salt Lake Hogo Zoo, San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld. Whenever I was a kid, that was probably the best place I wanted to be, and so I'd rather be there than Disneyland and stuff like that. And so just kind of being around animals have always kind of, you know, been a passion of mine. And so ever since I was a young kid, I just kind of learned as much as I could. I'd watch TV, and I remember one TV show that came out when I was in middle school. It's called Kratts Creatures, and so I loved it. Those guys made learning about animals fun and exciting, and ever since then I just decided that's really what I wanted to be. And it's cool because most kids kind of, you know, change their mind. They go through phases on what they want to do and stuff, but I've always kind of retained this and always had a love and known what I want to do with my life. So as I've come to work with these birds, it's interesting because you learn that each one of them has their own different personality. And it's cool because in school, you know, you learn about that's a Swainson's hawk, or that's a peregrine falcon, or that's a great horned owl, and you kind of learn that kind of what makes them that species and what's unique to them. But you get to learn a little bit more about their behavior, and you get to dive in and kind of learn that they aren't just a Swainson's hawk or a peregrine falcon or a great horned owl. They're much more, and they come to be more like, I don't really want to say human characteristics, but you come to look at them more like you would look at another human being or your friend, and you get to see kind of, you know, how they respond in different situations. And so I know that they're still an animal and they still have their bird characteristics, but they're more than just what they look like. I've had a lot of mentors throughout my life, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down. But a few of them are just some of the professors I had, like Fee Busby and Karen Mock, really kind of made learning fun, and they brought to life a lot of the stuff that we learned about in college. And you know, a lot of times you sit in class and it's just, you know, reading out of a textbook or a manual, but they actually brought to life, you know, the class and made it fun and showed us how we could use it in life and actually apply it in our life. A few of my mentors I've had in falconry that kind of helped me get the job here training the birds of prey are, I had one really good friend that kind of just stuck with me the whole way. His name was John Goodell, and he mentored me in falconry, and I got my apprenticeship under him, and he's just a great guy, all-around good guy. And I actually met him in the ornithology class at Utah State University, so it was pretty cool. And then I went to work down at Hogo Zoo with Steve Chingren, and Steve is one of the best falconers, if not the best, in North America. And you know, I owe a lot to him, and he helped further my abilities and talents and skills. And also Ben Woodruff, who's one of the greatest falconers around, I know as well. He helped me a lot with a lot of these birds, especially the bald eagle. And then I think I owe a lot to my dad, because he's always been just kind of my mentor, and he's always pushed me to do what I want, and he's always been behind me, and he's kind of been my biggest supporter and making sure, you know, I accomplish my dreams and goals. And if I owe a lot to him and all those other people. Well, I want to stay in the zoo setting. I really love training animals. Like, I just think it's fascinating, because when you think of training, you know, back in the old days, you think of training a bear to ride a bicycle in the circus, you know. But training is much more than that. There's many different aspects in how it helps out the animals in the zoo setting. For example, if you have an injured or, you know, sick animal, you can train it to respond to a vet or a keeper in a way that makes the animal feel comfortable and the keeper, so it's safe for both you and the animal. Also, it's great stimulation mentally, and it's great physical exercise for the animal, and keeps them physically and mentally healthy, which is also great. And it's a way to show people kind of their natural behaviors that they wouldn't really see in a zoo setting, and just kind of simulates kind of the environment and kind of what you would see if you were to go out and see these animals in the environment. So I want to stick with training. A lot of cool opportunities came forth. I've recently talked to SeaWorld, and they're asking me to come down and interview in March for a dolphin trainer position. And actually, I got an email yesterday from Six Flags Discovery Kingdom just out of San Francisco and Vallejo, and they want me to come interview in the next couple of weeks for a position training tigers. So it's going to be a lot different than birds, about a couple 100 pounds difference, but it's going to be fun, and that's just kind of what I've always wanted to do, and just broaden out into everything. I'll always retain training birds of prey, but I just kind of want to get experience with other types of animals and stuff out there. So